encourage your complete cooperation. Send your roses when they think you need to smile. I can't control myself because I don't know how. When they love me for it, honestly, I'll be here for a while. So give them blood, blood, gallons of the stuff. Give them all that they can drink and it will never be enough. So give them blood, blood, blood. Grab a glass because there's going to be a flood. A celebrated man amongst the gurneys. They can fix me proper with a bit of luck. The doctors and the nurses, they adore me so, but it's really quite alarming, 'cause I'm such an awful fuck. I gave you blood, blood, gallons of the stuff. I gave you all that you can drink, and it has never been enough. I gave you blood, blood, blood. Kind of human wreckage that you love.
So, it's been a while, folks, hasn't it, since the last time I tortured Kazan with something from 2000 AD. Except last time I was just pushing him into the water. This time I'm drowning him. Because today we are talking about Indigo Prime Killing Time.
Alright.
Now I know, my friends, you're thinking, how? David, why? Why are you subjecting Kazan to this? This is like tier 5 2000 AD. Give him something easy. Read like a Judge Dredd story or a Nikolai Dante story. Why are you breaking him in with Killing Time? And the answer for that is, I don't want anyone to have a happy Christmas. So, if you haven't listened to the last one, please introduce yourself again, Cars.
Hello. I am Kazan. I'm a close friend of Hal's. I've known him for quite a few years actually. It's been about almost 4 years now. I'm just a good buddy of Hal's. Know nothing of 2000 AD besides having very vague memories of 2 years ago when he showed me the original set of stories from the very first comic. And giving a quick preview read of Killing Time, I'm already confused. And
trust me, context will not save you.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I've read all 8 parts of JoJo's, or 7 and 8. And close to the end of part 8, however long Araki decides to take. I'm familiar with JoJo, so even with context, shit doesn't make sense.
I like to think of Indigo Prime as kind of like 2000 AD's take on JoJo with maybe a more science fiction event. As in, it really does not make much sense if you really think into it, but oh my god, the ride going through is amazing. So I think before we begin with Killing Time itself, I think I should give Kazan some proper context, since when I made him read what he read of it, he had no idea what it was. Exactly the same way I felt in 1991 when I first read it as an 8-year-old. Yes, I read this as an 8-year-old.
I mean,
and since Kazan does not know what's coming in the last couple of parts of it, oh boy. So anyway, so context is, Indigo Prime is like this dimensional agency which is dedicated to repairing breaks in time and space across the multiverse. However, they've got this little sneakiness where they're fine with doing paid jobs for rich people, even though it might screw stuff up a bit. All the Indigo Prime agents have like different kind of
morals.
Well, that, but also they have special powers that which go with their jobs. So the known ones, because we only know like 3 of them, even in 2019 we only know 3 of them. And yes, Indigo Prime is still going on.
Damn.
There's been like 4 or 5 stories since Killing Time.
Gotcha.
So we've got the Scene Shifters who mess about with physical worlds, like move mountains, move oceans. We've got Seamsters, which is very important because the 2 main characters of Killing Time are Seamsters, who deal with problems by manipulating with time. And we've got Imagineers, who can go into people's brains and influence their minds and dreams.
Sounds like Disney should be getting on their asses about that.
So our two specific agents of Indigo Prime that we're following in Killing Time are Agents Winwood and Cord.
Alright.
Max Winwood is a posh, Eton-esque man who has very, very weird hair, which has a mind of its own. I do not understand the reason for that, but I think it's just a trick of Chris Weston's art, to be honest.
I gotcha.
And we've got Ishmael Cord, who's like a Cockney thug, basically.
With a giant nuclear fallout symbol on his left arm.
And a pimpin' ass hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want that hat.
Yeah, the giant ass hat that you can have in that reminds me of the pimp hat you can have in the Outer Worlds. You know, this like sick ass hat you find off the corpse of a dead guy.
I've always wanted that hat, and what happens to that hat later on in the story is heartbreaking, but we'll get to that. So Indigo Prime started off as a couple of one-offs which introduced like the agency and different members of the agency and just how fucked up they are with their morals. If they can make money, they will. If it makes them money.
Wow.
That is how fucked up they are. And you will see that these models in play during Killing Time, believe me. So, I think we've stalled long enough. Let's dive into Killing Time itself.
Alright.
So, the story starts off seemingly normal. It's kind of like a Victorian murder mystery, except for the fact that you know who the murderer is right away. And the art is showing you exactly who it is right away, so it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery to us, and it's not a mystery to Winwood and Cord, but it's a mystery to the rest of the cast.
Wow. Alright.
Yeah.
Interesting perspective on this, but yeah.
So yeah, the basic story, well, I say basic story, but this is a very, very dense story.
Mm-hmm.
So the basic story, I'll give you the basics and then we can talk more about it and maybe flick through some of the pages of it, because I've given you a digital copy of it to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of solves the problem of what I had with our last one 2 years ago, because I kind of had to stop and start to give you every single picture. But this time I've given you the full comic, so it shouldn't be too bad this time.
Well, yeah. Also, back then I had a really shitty PC, and it was just a different time between the both of us.
That is true. That is totally true. So okay, so here is the basic plot synopsis. Jack the Ripper is doing his final known murder. I'll say that specifically, known murder, as in that's the last prostitute that he is known to have killed in real life. And then we see our boys Winwood and Cord show up out of nowhere.
Alright.
And here's something, I don't know if you might have noticed this, but Winwood and Cord are at times throughout this entire story are actually looking at us, the reader, as if they know we're here and we're watching them.
I've never noticed that detail. The only big detail I ever noticed is the fact that they're pink and purple while everybody else is like a whole range of reds, yellows, and oranges.
There's a specific reason for that, because agents of Indigo Prime are recruited from death.
Ah.
So they're kind of different coloured because technically dead people.
Gotcha. I didn't notice that detail.
But yeah, you can notice it as early as page 2, where you can just see Linwood while Cord is talking about Jack the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally staring at us. For the longest time on the 2000 AD message boards, that particular image of Linwood just staring was my avatar for a long time. So yeah, basically the short version of the story is the final canonical Jack the Ripper murder has happened, and Linwood and Cord are impressioning themselves into this Victorian party of a professor who is planning the first ever time travel jump in the Victorian era. It is a fucking awesome train.
Mm-hmm.
The train is amazing.
Yeah.
As you mentioned to me before we started recording, it's got everything. It's got a conservatory, it's got kitchens, it's got a smoking room.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the reason they had to do that is because the train is almost a part of the story itself, because about 3/4 of the story is set on the train.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, now I will just very quickly so we can look at our group of people, our group of poor unfortunate souls.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got dead person, dead person, dead person, dead person, Cord, Jack the Ripper, dead person, the final Jack the Ripper victim, Max Winwood, dead person, and the professor himself, who will also be dead by the end of the story. Oh yeah, I really should have mentioned, I'll put a spoiler warning before the beginning of this, because I am going to spoil the hell out of this comic.
Yeah.
So anyway, they have decided to put themselves in as members of the time traveling party for a very specific and very dark reason. They need Jack the Ripper to kill his last victim on the train, because once on the train, it'll open. And this is where I'm going to be interested in your reaction, because you haven't read the end of it. Mm-hmm. So once the final victim it happens, it opens up a door to an alternate dimension in the middle of time, where a giant time cancer exists, which has been infecting Jack the Ripper and other people for a long time, putting thoughts in their heads to release it, so it can infest all time and kill everything in existence. So, and I know it sounds insane, but believe me, this is the story. So this time virus, which I shall call the Iscariot from now on, because that is what it calls itself in the story. So, and yes, I'm aware of what it's named after, and yes, there's a reason for it. So the Iscariot managed to, a long time ago, way before the events of this story, the Iscariot managed to get free and infested several universes before Indigo Prime could contain it in this prison.
Wow.
This prison is the prison that it's stuck in, and it's been wriggling into Jack the Ripper's mind, telling him to kill these certain girls in a certain configuration in London, and that would cause the door to open to its prison.
Damn.
You get me, you follow me with us so far, because this is a very, very dense comic.
Yeah, I'm listening now.
Okay, so that's basically why Jack the Ripper's doing what he's doing.
Gotcha.
Now, between then and what happens later on, we get them fucking about in the Neanderthal era of where the first humans are just Neanderthals, and one of the characters actually shoots and murders a Neanderthal man. Yeah, and you know what his reaction to it is? Let's stuff and mount it.
Okay.
The professor was like, oh, we can totally take this back with us and prove that God is bullshit, and Ned came from one of the other characters. Like, now let's just stuff and mount it.
So fucked up.
Oh no. The fun begins when the seance begins. So
Okay.
trust me, I know I sound like a crazy person, but this all happens in the story. Everything I am about to tell you actually happened, which is why I'm sad you never read further than so much of it. Because oh my god. So anyway, we have. I think it's Mary that has the seance. Decides to have the bright idea of let's have a seance. Let's talk to ghosts while we're in a time traveling train, because that sounds like the best idea in the world ever.
Yeah.
And I am just going to once I stall for me for a couple of minutes, because I need to read this verbatim, because this kind of gives you an idea of, oh dear, where this story is going.
Alright.
So could you stall for me for a second?
Yeah. This is gonna be a this is gonna be a weird ass adventure.
Oh, you have no idea. Okay, so I finally got here. So Mary Seward does a seance, and everything seems fine until until our poor unfortunate future victim of Jack the Ripper seems to be possessed by something, and I am just going to read everything that is said on this page, because oh my god. So you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I knew a Mary once. I knew a Mary twice. From Bucks Row to Miller's Court, there's no one left alive. Gentle Jack the Lady Killer, slicing up their lives. A Calvary Cross, Roman Kidney, Catherine in her pretty red mitre, her pretty shawl of skin.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Charlotte, it's the Iscariot, the eunuch lord, the seed, its seed is white and red, all pretty colours, pretty rainbow colours. And there's red on the train, on the window, the floor, the seats in the ceiling, shiny, shiny, Whitechapel red. 6 little strumpets, glad to be alive. And sidles up to Jack, then there are 5. Clip clop, clip clop, clip clop. Something's running on the walls, outside the train, it sounds like a horse. Happy times, am I right?
Yeah, oh yeah. 100% happy times.
So after that, she gets put to bed, and things just progressively get weirder and weirder as she is visited by her future self. I will put the picture. I will send a picture to you so you can gasp in real time.
Alrighty.
Observe.
The fuck? What
Yeah.
the fuck am I looking at? Oh, she's like.
She is seeing her future, and it is not a fun one.
Alright.
So, as if that isn't fucked up enough, the seance is actually causing some trouble outside, and time monsters are starting to attack the train.
Mm.
And I am just going to put this isn't a picture of the time. This isn't a picture of, and I will try and put all these pictures in the video, even though it'll probably get me demonetized because oh my god. So, so I am going to put this picture here, not because it's important or anything. I just want you to look at what Cord is doing in the first panel.
Alright.
And what he's doing in the second panel.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They know that the readers are there and they're playing up to the fun of the horrible stuff that's happening.
Oh yeah,
to
he's just straight up looking at the viewer.
So yeah, poor Mary has realised what's going to happen. She saw the final victim of Jack Ripper getting cut up, and she saw that something's going to happen to every single person on this train. And that's how that episode ended.
Wow.
And now I am going to show you another picture at the very next page, because I just want you to look at the facial expressions of Winwood and Cord. They are casually talking about having to let some poor woman die, and just look at what they're doing, while they're doing so.
Yeah. Especially that last panel.
Yeah, he's literally coming off of the panel.
Yeah.
They're both coming off of the panel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're literally talking to you. You're on the train with them, and they're talking to you. They're basically spelling out the plot at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this kind of goes back to what I said at the start of what we're talking about. Indigo Prime have no morals.
Right.
If it suits them, they will do anything. Because they do not want another version of this to happen.
Right.
And I am showing you the picture of what the Iscariot did the last time it got worse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's pleasant.
Yeah, and oh, you're in for a trip.
Oh my God.
Okay, so after this exposition in which they basically both say what I told you at the beginning of this, we get another journal entry from Professor Seward, who is talking about how the ride is getting rougher and rougher as they get further and further into time.
Mm-hmm.
And then a poor Queen and Lady gets attacked by a JoJo stan.
Oh shit! It's Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah. That's literally what it is. It's a JoJo stan.
Oh. Yeah, it's just I'm at the page now. Yeah, she's just like being attacked by this weird slime thing. Again, it just looks like the like beginning of Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah. What it actually is, it's a time monster that feeds on time.
So like a weeping angel.
And sort of, kind of more squishy and
blob
bodily
blob
function.
like.
I was going to say more bodily function is, since John Smith, the writer, kind of has this thing about blobs of monsters,
Gotcha.
which you'll see as we move on. So anyway, correct, and time is literally seeping into the train, and it's slowly making people younger.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back with our favourite pair of numpties.
The fuck
Who's
is going on with him?
Yes, the hair.
Yeah, that's what I'm like questioning.
I do not understand the hair. I have never understood the hair. I never will understand the hair, and I have read this many, many times.
It's just a casual conversation going on, and now he's just got this weird ass hair going on.
It is just what Max Winwood does. It's
Gotcha.
weird. So after this, we get to the point where Jack the Ripper becomes Jack the Ripper.
Mm.
And I am not sure if I actually want to put what happens next on the actual pod once we've done, because things are about to get shit weird, yo. So first of all, the time mists, which have been causing all sorts of trouble, is brought the Neanderthal man back to life, and unfortunately one of the poor train conductors comes a cropper.
Oh.
Comes a very big cropper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
I will not link you the next page, just click it yourself and just, oh dear.
Hold on a second. Oh.
Yeah, oh dear.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
May I remind you that when I first read this I was 8 years old?
Gosh, damn.
I will keep reminding you of this fact as we go further on in this, because we are getting to the crazy stuff.
Oh, so now we're getting to the crazy stuff. Alright.
Oh yeah, this is all normal. So now Jack the Ripper is doing his thing in very graphic detail, might add.
Yeah. I'm like scrolling through pages now. Yeah. Oh my god.
And as things get darker and darker, you just love what Winwood says on this page. Because I'm pretty sure I've said the same thing once or twice with.
She's getting younger. She's getting younger before her eyes. The organism seems to feed on time. Oh. Love how that's the interesting part. Not the fact that she's dying and she's going to become a child, and then beyond that.
Well, to be fair, he is a Victorian scientist, so all this weird shit is fascinating to him, even though bad stuff's happening.
Yeah, people just are dying, and it's like, oh, interesting. This is also the fact that like they used a pool table for a bed.
Yeah. But as I
with
said,
a couple of the
my
pool
favourite
balls still left too, you can see like 2 of them on the table.
That's what I mean by Chris Weston's detail. It is just amazing.
Yeah.
At this point in his career, his human figures are kind of wooly compared to what he does later on, but his detail is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we move on to the next page, I am just going to say one of my favourite lines of this entire story.
Mm-hmm.
So, all this shit is happening, as you said, there's this poor woman who's getting younger and younger all the time in front of them, and everyone's all fascinated. And then Max Winwood, the fucker, just comes into the door and just casually says, "So, this is where the Insomniacs gather, is it?" He knows what the fuck's going on, and he's still playing it off as a joke.
Jesus, what, like, I'm still looking at like the hair and how one panel it's like he's he's like fucking gone from Hunter x Hunter or future gone, and then another panel he just has it's just really wavy, like it's like my hair, except not as long.
And then there's a couple of panels where he's just basically Chris Weston with weird hair.
Yeah.
Because as I am aware, Chris Weston used to use his own likeness in some of his strips sometimes, and Max Winwood is basically Chris Weston with a very weird sense of dress and a weird hair,
Gotcha.
from what I've heard. But anyway, back to the horrible stuff, because I'm trying to put off as much as possible, because bad stuff's about to happen, very bad stuff is about to happen. Oh boy. So anyway, back to Cord, who's fighting at the possessed Neanderthal. Who's like, yeah, I'm going to rip your arms off, I'm going to fucking kill you. It doesn't say that specifically in the story, but it's implied.
Yeah.
Oh boy, is it implied.
Yeah. Violent stuff's about to happen.
Yeah.
Or at least it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. So anyway, Cord just straight up sews him out of existence, because that's what seamsters do, they sew up time.
Nice. Oh, that's
And
what that
since-
is. That's a needle. Okay.
Yep, it's a needle, and if you look carefully you can see the kind of electricity kind of thread coming out of it.
Mhm.
It is, I got to admit, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it.
So anyway, then we are going further and further into time, and Max Winwood just looks at us again with a doofy smile, which I love so much.
Yeah, it's like
In fact-
the needle's like a smoking gun.
In fact, once we're done with this, I think I'm going to make that my new avatar on Discord, because that's great. So yeah, next couple of pages later, and yeah, shit gets real.
Mhm.
I am just going to link it to you right here for correctness sake.
Oh my
because
god. Yeah, I just looked a couple pages
Yeah.
ahead. Oh.
Yeah.
That's damn.
Yeah,
Then I like the little see a little pentagram there on the third panel on the middlemost panel. There's like a little yeah, there's so much blood.
not just that. If you look at the panel right next to it, you can see some of her organs.
Mm-hmm. And then it looks like her eyes have been carved out in the next panel.
Yeah.
That's
So yeah, this is the point where the story goes literally off the rails, because Jack the Ripper's just done his final murder.
mhm.
The time mists are screwing up with the train, and stuff is just happening to everyone.
Mhm.
And I actually looked up I'll put the page so you can see it. I actually looked. Some of these have like,
Latin phrases under them.
and I was in quite funny.
Mhm.
So basically we've got the obvious one is the top middle one, which is just basically in marriage,
Yeah.
having bad dreams, dead, sexual assault. I'm not even kidding. That's what that says.
Okay.
Fortune favours the bold, and never let the bastards take you, is what the
Yeah.
last one is.
Nice.
I think it kind of works for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the very next page is when,
Oh.
yeah,
Whoa.
this is where this is where the horror starts to get ranked up a notch because the core zone's open now.
Mm-hmm.
And the train's going inside it.
It's getting all H.R. Geiger up in this.
Yeah, stuff's about to get very bad.
Ooh.
So Jack Ripper's on the loose. He's not even kidding that he's a normal person now. He's just going on a rampage.
Mm-hmm.
And Cord stops him.
Alright.
He just literally stops him. And everyone has to deal with the fact that Jack the Ripper was on the train.
Yeah.
And Winwood just goes through a little history lesson that we already knew about, but it goes into more detail for the characters in the story now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read it out because this is actually quite interesting. So Winwood says reality is a trolley dodgy piece of machinery. It's like the inside of a Swiss watch. It needs constant care and attention, constant supervision. That's our job, Mr. Cords and mine, to oil the cogs and wind the springs to make sure everything runs smoothly. And it genuinely does. It genuinely does. But every once in a while we come upon a flaw in the works. One of them called itself the Iscariot. It was a freak of nature, a psychoplasmic life form that killed millions, turned whole worlds inside out, and you get a wonderful picture of what it does. There was a war that lasted centuries, mentioned in the myths of every inhabited world, but eventually we caught it. We imprisoned it in a Schrödinger cage, an area of no space, no time, known as a core zone. It was like a wasp trapped in amber that the scar and nobody could break until Culver came along, that is.
Jeez.
So yeah, Jack the Ripper kind of opened it up again.
Yeah, through murdering a woman.
And now there's a hole in it and everything's starting to spill out. And we find out that Winwood and Cord's true goal this entire time was to get inside and kill the bloody thing for good, so it never does anything again.
Mm-hmm.
But the Iscariot has other plans. Because the Iscariot is very smart, it is very clever and very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just going to put this picture up so you can just gasp. Because when I said the story was going off the rail, I wasn't kidding.
What? Oh, that's cool. So he hits a corpse and it just... What?
It hits, so it basically hits a corpse, which causes a break in the train, which causes the train to go literally off the rails and crashes into the core zone.
Oh, that last panel right there reminds me of what happens to King Yemma's world in Dragon Ball Fusion Reborn. Where everything just turns into these like rainbow bubbles and stuff. Oh, that's really cool.
So our very next page is the aftermath of the crash, and we see all those lovely rooms that we were described in detail just totally trashed, totally gone. And then we see a picture of what looks like one of the windows shattered with blood on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see what happens next on the next page, and it is not pleasant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fuck. And yeah, the train. Yeah, so the train's destroyed, and now they're stuck. Oh, it's
in a hell zone, basically.
Gotcha.
They're basically stuck in a Geiger-esque nightmare of flesh and monsters.
Ugh.
And horrible stuff.
Oh, that's gross.
So yeah, I will say it now. Almost everyone on the train except for our named characters are now dead.
Gotcha.
They all died in the crash
Damn.
of the. But Max Winwood is a pragmatic person and says, we might be fucked, but you wanted Jack the Ripper, so why don't you go after Jack the Ripper? He crawled that way. You can tell with the long streak of blood. And comes the best part of this entire story, as Claude just straight up kicks the shit out of Jack the Ripper, punches him, beats him near to death, and then rings him for a harpsichord.
Oh, you sent me this.
And this is the picture that I sent you long ago before we even considered doing that. But now you have context for it.
Yeah, you sent me this. Like, this is for Charlotte, and just kicks him into the harbor. Damn.
No, but what I never showed you is what happens next, which you'll see on the very next page. Oh no, wait. No, it's not. It's not this page. I think it's a page or two afterward.
Well, on the page after, there's just this giant robot mantis thing.
Yeah, this is us going into pure JoJo horror territory now.
Oh my gosh.
Because you remember when I read out that seance earlier, and there was the Crypclops.
Uh-huh.
It was this.
Oh my, this looks like a stand in part 8. Damn.
Because this is where the horror truly begins, as everyone gets split up due to the panic of what happened. But let's forget that for a second, and let's just look at what's happened to Jack the Ripper.
Oh, is there another? Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
First panel, Claude was passed.
Yeah, and literally shredded his body through a harp.
Funny story. It was mentioned that John Smith was interviewed a while ago, okay, and his thought process of the whole Jack the Ripper through the harpsichord thing is, what would happen if you put an egg through strings? And that's the result.
Yeah, he still half of his body is shredded while the other half there's like a leg left over.
You can just see what's left of his eyes. Just
yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible and it's awesome at the same time. But yeah, as you can see on the rest of this page now, what it looks like, and it's kind of amazing. It's horrible and it's amazing at the same time. Okay, now to what I was excited for you to see. Now we're going to see everyone dying.
Alright.
In horrible, horrible ways.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, he got straight turned into a tunnel for a model train.
Fuck. And there's a woman getting fucking pelted with shoes.
Yep. It gets better.
And
Vernon meets his dead wife, but it's not his dead wife, it's a monster in disguise.
Oh, this is the fucking Eclipse from Berserk all over again. Oh.
Yep.
Haven't you got a kiss from Mummy? And oh my god.
Face with razor. And mauled to death by bunny rabbits because he was a hunter. And
Mary's
chomped to death by teeth because she never shut up during the whole series.
Oh. Yeah, this is just the fucking Eclipse from Berserk again. Oh.
Yeah. And it's not over yet.
Oh, okay. Winwood is lost in shadow, screaming. What the hell is going? The tortured beside. What the fuck? What the fuck is this full page?
Yep. Hello. meet the Iscariot.
That's the Iscariot?
Yep. It's a monster thing.
Okay.
And yes, it's full of body parts and you can see them quite clearly.
There's so much shit to take in. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's like a fish head, a rooster, a pelican arm with a fish in its hand. What the hell?
There's fucked up rabbits. There's totally boobs.
There's a baboon with a frog through its head.
Yep. There's a boob monster.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I can
monster.
describe it as.
Yeah, a melted boob monster.
You can't see it on this page, but you'll see it in a couple of pages. It has a mouth that looks like vagina dentata.
There's like a creature in the bottom left that looks like if Mara like upgraded from a chariot.
Basically what this Iscariot is it's all evil summed up in a physical form. That's what it basically is.
Oh, this is like if like Kefka went all full like Cthulhian mythos.
So, are you ready for the final part?
Yes. I gotta see the rest of this. Okay, so then, alright, so, what was it? Alright, so Cord is stuck in these razor-looking things.
Which are slowly cutting his arms off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and they cut his arms off.
And they literally do cut his arms off.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, Winwood can do shit to this monster.
Damn. So yeah, looks like Cord's arms are just gone.
So on this page, I am going to read out what is exactly said because this is chilling.
Mm-hmm.
So Winwood says, "Why are you doing this?" And the Iscariot is like, "You put me here, Winwood. You and your colleagues locked in this blind light cage for centuries. Did you really think it could contain me? Over the years I grew lean, my body shriveling away, acres of flesh, wasting to nothing but my mind. I learned to slip between the barriers, sending my mind fluttering out through history, moving the little people from here to there, staging wars and famines." And you can just see pictures of like Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Albert Einstein, fucking Margaret Thatcher,
Napoleon Bonaparte. I'm trying to remember that bearded dude.
That's Rasputin, or is it Nostradamus? It's one of the two.
I think it's Nostradamus. And then I think Alexander the Great in the bottom left?
I think
next
so.
to Napoleon?
So yeah, basically what this guy is saying, all the bad shit that's happened through history is what he's doing to try and get him out of the cage.
And it all led up to Jack the Ripper.
But as with all things, reality had its flaws. So much slovenliness, so much untidy minds cluttered with rubble and bric-a-brac. So I sought to remake the world in my own image. A fucking monster.
Dr. Culver volunteered his help. He was the... Oh my gosh. Holy fuck.
And here's the reveal. One of the poor hapless guests on the train was sent into the future and tumbled in front of the train and caused it all to stop.
Was that hapless victim the doctor?
The
professor who made the train?
No, it was the poor guy who got his face burnt by the razor.
Oh, okay.
He just went, here you go, here's a time paradox. Crash!
Dear Lord. Yeah, this is like... Oh, this is even further... This is like a further fleshed out Eclipse, but with time instead of like a portable hell zone.
It kind of is.
Yeah. The Emperor... I'm the Emperor of Ice Cream?
That's a reference, actually.
Really? What the heck?
That is. I am looking it up right now.
So basically, Court is Court just fucked since he doesn't have arms?
The
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the behemoth, or like the being, sorry, the Iscariot Sucyor Binoth reveals his main face, which is just that weird crab claw face with a couple of eyes shooting out of one of the, like this is like this is like a creature from like a Junji Ito story.
I know it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, this is like Junji Ito levels of detail for everything, and I love it. Even though I think this story is older than Junji Ito's stories.
I have no idea if that's true.
I want to say so because
this came out in 1991, believe it or not.
yeah, I think at that point this was before he picked up as a horror writer, because he was, I don't even know how old he is. I want to say he's in his 30s. Past that probably. Anyways, yeah, this is amazing.
So the next page, if you thought Windward and Court were fucked already, now Windward is blinded.
Oh, great. Yeah, I see. Yeah, his eyes got fucking lasered out. Oh god.
And now it's time for the. You know that old saying where if you show a gun in the first act, you have to use it by the third act?
Yes.
This canary, which is specifically mentioned as a cannibal canary earlier in the story, has been seen many times in the train as a background plot.
Yeah, you see the birdcage a good handful of times.
Yep, and now the reason for it being there is pulled off because Winwood uses his power to mess with time to copy it, and then copy it, and then copy it, and again, and again, and again, and again, until there's hundreds of them, and he sends the cannibal budgies against the Iscariot.
And a blitzkrieg of feathers. A blitzkrieg of wings. Yellow Holocaust. Oh my god.
And the Iscariot dies.
In just a flurry of birds.
And I am just going to let you read the last couple of pages yourself because this is the reason why this story is well remembered, these last 2 or 3 pages.
Alright, I shall. Alright, so an armless cord and an armless Winwood. A blind Winwood. Oh god. Okay, so are we going home right now? Let's start again. The fuck?
And the story ends with one of Jack the Ripper's very real letters, which I shall read to you right here. This is a real Jack the Ripper letter. I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. The next job I do, I shall clip the ladies' ears off and send them to the police officers just for jolly, wouldn't you? My knife is nice and sharp. I want to get to work right away. If I get a chance, good luck. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper.
Jeez.
And that's the end of Killing Time. It ends with our hero stuck in a dying core zone, budgies flying into the hole to presumably eat other worlds.
Jesus.
They tried to stop the Iscariot and they might have unleashed something much worse.
So
because that's how Indigo Prime stories kinda happen.
So they've not only fucked up, but they've fucked up even worse than the original fuck up.
Yes. And do you want me to tell you the sad thing about this?
Huh.
This was it for Indigo Prime.
Huh?
It never came back until about 2008.
What?
Yep, we were left on this. We didn't know what happened to our heroes. We don't know if the world died. We don't know after that.
This is like the ending to A Boy and His Dog when it's like, oh no, this is like what happens at the end of that comic that came out after A Boy and His Dog because the author hated that people wanted him to continue his story, so he just released a comic where Vic just dies, and Blood is just left to be on his own, trying to find a new owner after Vic dies because he gains morality after eating a human.
And in the foreword to the second corrected volume of Killing Time, which corrects everything from when it came back, John Smith writes in the introduction he didn't want to bring it back. He wanted it to end like this because he thought this was the perfect ending for it.
I mean, that's pretty much how any bleak story should end, is on a bleak note with no extra bit to help conclude the story, because in all seriousness, I guess the best way to put this is like what could have happened with Lord of the Rings if the Eagles didn't come back and pick up Frodo and Sam, and they just died at the face of Mount Doom after throwing the ring into the volcano.
Which, if you think about it, is kind of apt for this, because Linwood and Cord are stuck on the core zone with no possible way of being helped while it all falls down on them. There is no Eagles to come for them.
Yeah.
Or so we thought until 2008.
Jeez.
So we thought until 2008 when John Smith wrote a seemingly one-off story called Dead Eyes, which is about an Iraqi soldier who's stuck on a world which is slowly falling apart. It does not say it's an Indigo Prime story. In fact, I am just going to skip ahead and I'll post you the point when a seemingly bizarre story about an Iraqi soldier dealing with the end of the world turns into an Indigo Prime story, because I think you might be curious to see what the last page of this story was.
I might as well see what the last. I might as well know what the last story, because yeah, this is a legitimately like beyond depressing ending.
It kind of is, but it kind of, as I said, it's pretty much a 2000 AD ending.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It needs to end like this because there's no way that you can make a better ending than a bleak ending to an already sad story. At least in my opinion, because if you try to make a happy ending for a depressing story, then it's just not gonna be good. It just ends up being emotional whiplash, and it just wouldn't be good. You know, just IMO kind of stuff.
So yeah, the way the original story obviously ended with is every single character you got to know in the 10 parts is dead, except for maybe Linwood and Cord, whose fates are left up in the open.
Yeah.
Because you never do see if they die or not.
Of course, gotta leave some kind of ambiguity to the ending. Unlike. Actually, yeah, this is at least a different kind of, because I know I shouldn't be comparing the artists to Junji Ito because their storytellings are both 100% are very different, but I just like comparing other artists to other artists. It's not trying to offend anyone, but with how Uzumaki ended, every single character in that story dies. Like, they all succumb to the power of the spiral, and it is a never-ending cycle that repeats itself every 2,000 years or something like that. And it's just this bleak ending where literally everyone's dead.
So I want you to imagine this in your mindscape, okay? So you've got this innocuous story about an Iraqi soldier being stuck during the end of the world. End of his world, okay? All the characters in the story die by the end, kind of like Killing Time, actually.
Right.
But not as messy as this, it's more human horror. So imagine the shock. Imagine the shock of it all. I can still remember because I was a member of the 2000 AD boards at the time, and when we read this issue of when it originally came out, we all gasped.
Okay.
Because at the very end of this story, and remember this is a story years later,
Dude. What the fuck? He just has robot arms now?
he has robot arms, and you can't see it in this picture because his eyes are closed, but Linwood has robot eyes as well. You find that out in the next story.
Dude. So basically, this is just like some alternate timeline thing. I just realized with the ending, is this like some kind of alternate timeline thing to explain why Jack the Ripper was never found? Because he got his body shredded in a time that does in a world that exists but doesn't exist at the same time.
Yep, if you remember what actually happened, Jack the Ripper killed 5 women and then disappeared completely, never to be heard from again.
Right.
Killing Time is telling you a version of the story where Jack the Ripper went on a time-traveling train to kill his last victim to open up a hole into another dimension, in which he proceeded to get his shit kicked in by a blue guy with a top hat and then put through a harpsichord.
Yeah. That
I
is.
love Killing Time.
Yeah, this
It
is.
is.
This is interesting. This is legitimately fucking pretty goddamn amazing.
And as I said, that story was only like the links that I showed you from a website is basically scans of the 2 corrected editions of it.
Mm-hmm.
The first one corrects everything from the 1980s and 1990s, and the second trade paperback corrects pretty much up to date. Only missing 3 stories, which I'm assuming we'll probably get a 3rd trade paperback in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, Indigo Prime kind of came back in 2008 after God knows how many years being missing.
Sounds like 17 years.
And it just gets, and the stories just gets weirder and weirder. How about I just give no pictures because I don't know if I could find them, but I'll just give you context to some of the weird stuff that comes up in the new series of Indigo Prime.
Right.
So, how about one of the stories being about a surviving Nazi who decides to hire Indigo Prime to falsify a new Jesus Christ, and the new Jesus Christ is basically a Cthulhu monster. And yes, they call it Christ Thuru. I actually need to try and find a picture of that now because you need to see this.
Oh, by the way, while reading through the comic too, I looked up some of Chris Weston's work. Apparently, he did a whole bunch of alternate movie theater posters for a bunch of popular '80s movies. There's this amazing Escape from New York, The Thing, which fucking looks amazing. I already love The Thing, but that looks amazing. Apparently, yeah, there's like a alternate cover for Army of Darkness. A whole bunch of posters, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, he's because he's kind of a slow artist, and you can tell from his actual work that he does nowadays. He mostly does like work for movie companies and fan art and stuff. So he has worked on actual legit TV and movies as a storyboarder.
Right. Oh, also I found this awesome Mad Max 2 poster, which looks, all these posters look phenomenal. I think my favorite one being either The Thing or Mad Max Road Warrior, or Mad Max 2.
As I said, he's kind of like Araki in a way, because if you compare his old work, which we read today, to his current stuff, which is what you're actually googling at the moment, it's kind of night and day how much better it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I still like this. It's just the human characters have like a what is it? Like if you've ever read like a political cartoon or one like one of those one panel let's make fun of people but give them the most disturbing human traits ever. This is what it's like.
I would not be shocked if Chris Weston was going for that kind of style.
But yeah, that'd be cool if it was.
I would not be shocked at all, because Chris Weston does have kind of a specific style.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, he is no stranger to American comics either. He's done issues of Grant Morrison's The Invisibles for DC.
Nice.
He's done a bunch of work for DC Comics. He's done a lot of stuff outside of 2000 AD.
Mm-hmm. I have an idea, but I'll tell you off conversation. But yeah, this is legitimately like I guess you want my thoughts on the comic. This is legitimately impressive.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of bleak horror as I like bleak stories a lot, even though they make me ridiculously sad. Like they make me a very sad boy when I'm done reading them. I fucking love this kind of depressing stuff. Like, again, as I've said before, Junji Ito does this on a fucking weekly basis. Like he'll just keep making bleak stories where almost none of the cast ever survives, and I like that kind of shit. It's weird, but yeah, I like just sad stories. I mean, Berserk is one of my favorite manga ever, and that is one of the bleakest manga I've read, and it's still going on after over 20 plus years, or 30, I think. It's been out since the 80s. But this is I like this a lot. This is despite how fucking ridiculous this story is and the concept, this is really fucking cool. Alright. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of just, as I've said many times, I'm just a big fan of the concept of just a sad story. Like, not everything has to end in a happy ending, and this is a prime example of, even after all the batshit craziness, literally everyone dies except for at the time ambiguously our two main characters, or the two boys of Indigo Prime. And
even then, since that was going to be the very last Indigo Prime, for all we know, they were dead.
Yeah.
Until 2000 odds.
It's pretty awesome. Honestly, I like this. I like this a lot. It's maybe only the first and only one I've read for Indigo Prime. Still a good one.
I made sure to pick the best.
Of course, man.
So yeah, finally I think I shall show you the image for the trade paperback of this, because it kinda, although you've already seen how good Chris Weston's art got in the years since, this kinda shows you how much his Indigo Prime work changed between 1991 and more recently. So check this out.
That's cool. I like that. I like how he's holding the train and everything, and has like a watch. There's like a skeleton skeletons inside each of the clocks.
It's a really cool image.
Yeah, this is really cool.
But yeah, thanks for joining me for this. I'm so glad I didn't scar you for life with this, because it kind of scarred me for life in 1991.
Yeah,
because I was 8 when I read it.
Yeah, luckily I'm 23 and I've seen some pretty weird images online at this point. Like, imagine if we've been friends since we were 8, then yeah, I think this would have scarred us for life. I mean, to be fair though, as a kid, I remember watching Bobo when it first premiered on Toonami.
And to
I
be
was
fair,
less than
I
10
have.
years old.
And to be fair, I have since read Berserk, which, as you kind of said, is
Yeah, the eclipse.
Yeah.
All you gotta say is the eclipse.
the eclipse.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much for joining us for this, and I hope it was interesting to you all. And next year, I'll try and figure out something else for him to read. That will probably be not as insane as this, but will probably be just as interesting. So yeah, I'll see you all soon, and by the time this comes out, the newest episode of Space Spinner 2000 should be out, and I am joining Conrad to talk about one of the 2000 AD annuals. So it's kind of did this first as a joke on Space Spinner 2000, and now I am actually on Space Spinner 2000.
Nice.
Which is insane.
Who knows? Maybe someday I'll get to join a random ass podcast I like. Who knows?
So anyway, yeah, that is us. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next year, hopefully.
Hopefully.